The final assignment for your 210 portfolio is the recommendation report. In it, all of the previous assignments you have completed will come together as you present the results of your hard work. You must include all the sections listed in the prompt, but the main part of the report will consist of your research, the methods you used, your results, your conclusions, and finally, what your recommendation is for how best to proceed with your project. Keep in mind that the recommendation does not need to be positive. If you find, for example, that it would be too costly to proceed with your project and that your organization would benefit the most by not changing its course of action, then by all means state that you do not recommend proceeding with your initial suggestion. Earlier this year, Apple was ready to buy Time Warner. Top executives from both companies met a couple of times to discuss the possibility, but for whatever reason, the proposal ultimately fell through. This happens all the time. The purpose of the report is not only to recommend a solution, but to communicate to your audience how you came to choose that particular solution, or solutions if you think more than one option is viable. Pay special attention to the differences between each of the required sections. For this, refer to the descriptions in Chapter 18 of your technical communication book. However, a note of warning. The sample recommendation report in the book is lengthier than what we require. Don't rely too much on it. Rather, focus on reading the chapter, but use the sample report your instructor has provided on eCampus as reference. In the past, students have had trouble distinguishing the purposes of the executive summary and the introduction. The best way to think about these is to think of the summary as a sort of elevator speech, the kind of explanation you give to your aunt when she asks about work during the holidays. The introduction is instead intended for a person who wants an overview of the whole report, and it should include background information pertaining to the internal research proposal. It sets the stage for your audience and lets them know why your project is important. While these sections are similar, we discourage students from recycling text from one section and using it in the other, as the example in your textbook shows. The word count for this report may seem high, but you will find that there is no room to repeat yourself. We don't want repetitive sentences to take space away from the more important aspects of the report. As for the research sections, think of them like this. Methods refers to how you did your research. Look at the sample recommendation report on eCampus. Task 2 outlines how the student interviewed nearby farmers, including the number of questions, type of questions, and his distribution practices. For the results section, you will present what you found, but without interpreting the data. This section is very objective. In the sample, the student provides the results of his survey without interpreting them. He just provides numbers. In the conclusion, state what the data collected means for your project. For instance, based on the results of the survey, the student was able to determine the best tractor brand for his purposes. Finally, in the recommendation, you propose a solution based on your research and advise your audience on how best to proceed. In this case, the student recommends trying out a specific brand of tractor for his farm. In addition to demonstrating the differences for each section, the example will also show you how the report should be structured. Notice especially the methods and results section. Each is divided into the tasks you proposed in your internal research proposal, and the author provides an explanation of how the tasks were completed and what results were obtained from them. Because this is a research-oriented project, you are required to have a minimum number of sources in your Works Cited page, formatted in MLA style. Consult your prompt for specifications about this requirement. For a refresher on MLA style, refer to the MLA video in your eCampus page. As a professional piece of writing, your report should be as thorough and concise as possible. Always keeping in mind document design, style, and audience. For this assignment, you are also required to use a minimum of 2 graphics, which can be reused from your progress report handout, but at least one of them must be new. Consider using software for creating graphics, like websites such as PictoChart and Infogram. Consult the list of resources in your eCampus page for more options. To recap, in order for your recommendation to be approved, you must establish your credibility. Do this by explaining every single part of your project. Your boss or supervisor will want to know every detail that led you to make this particular recommendation. Include graphics, cite your sources, and break down the methods and results sections into tasks, explaining the completion process for each of them.